Gary Graham is on death row for the 1981 murder of Bobby Lambert. He says he's innocent, and Hollywood stars are rallying behind him. But an eyewitness to the murder and victims of Graham's violence are enraged. With very few days to go and Gary Graham's life hanging in the balance, we'll talk to both sides to try to unravel this highly charged debate. And it's all next right here on the Maury Povich Show. He just escaped death, but time may be running out.
We want justice!
The issue has been and remains to be whether or not Gary Graham was convicted as a result of a fair and equitable trial.
You do believe he's innocent, don't you?
Oh, unquestionably. I think the preponderance of evidence that is available that has never been heard before a judge or jury will prove that Gary Graham is innocent. And I'd also agree with Mike Farrell. One thing that is clearly obvious to any reasonable-minded person is that there has not been due process in Gary Graham's case and that these witnesses have never been heard in the court of law.
All right. Did you, I still want to try to deal with and end the celebrity question. Did you try to galvanize the support of celebrities?
Oh, yes. We asked people worldwide to get involved.
For publicity purposes?
No, not for publicity. For the support of building a mass movement. It is the little people, the grassroots people who pass out the leaflets, who march in the streets, who go to the governor's office or the attorney general's office and said, look, there's something particularly special about this case. We will hold you accountable for what you do and you don't do. And Danny Glover and Mike Farrell and Ed Ashley have not been alone. They've been joined by Bishop Desmond Tutu, Ramsey Clark, Coretta Scott King, the Congressional Black Caucus, Reverend Ben Chavis of the NAACP, Minister Louis Farrakhan of the Nation of Islam, Amnesty International, members of Parliament in London, England, Italy, Rome, and Germany. So this is a worldwide movement of people of significance.
All for Gary Graham. All because of an incident that happened in 1981.
Well, because the state of Texas is on trial here.
When a 53-year-old man was shot in front of a Safeway store.
Because people are concerned when there's a real possibility that somebody is innocent, may be executed by the state. That Bernadine Skillen testified in the public trial that she believes she saw Gary Graham commit the murder. Now,
but is it right for you to single her out?
Hold on a second. Let me answer the question. All that was put in the leaflet was the information from the trial. She is the only witness, the only evidence that the district attorney had that ties Gary Graham to this trial. But it's important to understand the quality of her testimony. First of all, we have said, number one, that Bernadine Skillen should not be harassed. She should not be attacked. We believe she's well-intentioned, but she is mistaken. Excuse me, Ms. Lynch. Now, I'll give you respect and let you talk. Okay. And when I'm talking, please give me the same respect. Secondly, it's important to understand that there are 4 other crime scene witnesses who had a better view, saw the suspect for a longer period of time at a closest distance in the brightest light, who contradict Bernadine Skillen's testimony, but were never called to trial. Now,
evidence. Let's just review this for a second before we talk to the juror. The eyewitnesses who did not appear at the trial, correct?
Yes.
The alibis that Gary Graham had as to where his whereabouts that night at Safeway.
Yes.
And anything else?
The ballistics report and the affidavit from the investigator. Let's characterize this evidence so we understand it clearly.
All right, because
Wilma Amos is the eyewitness at the scene of the crime who called the police back and said, I can identify the shooter, the killer. She saw the suspect on 3 occasions in the brightest light inside the store. She saw the suspect at the closest distance, 3 to 4 feet, where the suspect paused and looked at her directly in the face. She saw the suspect for the longest period of time. She says that the suspect was definitely not Gary Graham. Let me finish.
Let him finish.
Don't interrupt. I want the audience to understand this evidence. She also said, I am 5'2.5 inches tall. I looked at him face to face. He was a few inches taller than me. He could not have been more than 5'4" or 5'5". Gary Graham was 5 feet to 5'10", according to the police report. Secondly, there's Ronald Hubbard.
He's 5'9".
5'10", 4 to 5 inches difference. Ronald Hubbard, who worked for Safeway, gave a statement to the police the night of the crime, says, I estimate the height of the suspect at 5 feet, 5 inches tall. Leotis Wilkerson, 12 years old, sitting in a car, out of the DA's file, says, I remember one thing about the suspect. He was shorter than the victim. The victim was 5'6". That means the suspect had to be 5'5" or shorter. Hold on. There's another witness. There's Sharonita.
It's my show, Reverend. It's my show.
Sharonita. Said her estimate of the suspect was about 5'5". That's like a fingerprint. And it's not the fingerprint of Gary Graham. They were never called to testify in a court of law.
So this is the evidence that you want to bring
forward. Part of it.
1,000 people marched through Conroe demanding justice and